Welcome back. You're watching World News and I'm your host, Klaudia Czerwińska. A huge security operation is in place in Rome ahead of Pope Francis's funeral on Saturday, with thousands of police and military deployed to the Italian capital. Our correspondent, Alex Cadier, is there. Hi, Alex. So we can see hundreds, if not thousands of people behind you and in Rome. What measures have been put in place to keep them safe?
You're right. Well, we're stood here on St. Peter's Square under a no-fly zone, a 24-hour no-fly enforced by the Italian Air Force with fighter jets on standby. On the roofs around me, you would be able to spot some Italian police snipers ready if something were to happen. And then here on the ground, you can see behind me the Polizia, the civilian police, the Carabinieri, the military police of the Italian government. You can also see some soldiers. Now, allowed to film them, but one of them has an anti-drone gun ready to shoot down with countermeasures any drones. Now, back in 2005, for the funeral of Pope John Paul II, 10,000 law enforcement officers were deployed to the Vatican to host those 200 delegations. Now, we expect even more people this time than back in 2005. We also have between 2,000 and 2,500 volunteers from Italy's Civil Protection Agency. They have come from every region of Italy. They are here to make sure the queues are managed, to make sure the worshippers who have come to pay their respects are hydrated, are safe, are healthy. We have some 500 doctors and nurses on standby as well. It is very hot here in the Vatican, as you can see behind me. People will be waiting for hours in the sun just to say farewell to Pope Francis. Those 500 doctors and nurses on standby to make sure everything goes well. Now, I spoke to a major in the Carabinieri, the military police here in Italy, about the preparations and how long they took. Let's have a listen to what he said.
I'm very honored, and it's the most important role in this period of the Arma dei Carabinieri, in this of the public order and safe of the people around the Basilica of St. Peter's. The organization starts about 1 year before the Jubilee starts in Christmas of 2024. So the organization is the most important and very big.
So clearly a big operation here. In 10,000 people flowing in. 60,000 people came through St. Peter's Square and St. Peter's Basilica in the first 24 hours, and thousands of police officers and military are here to make sure it happens safely. Back to you in Warsaw.
Thank you. Definitely great. Many measures, safety measures in place to keep everyone safe. From the heart of Vatican, that was Alex Cadier. The Russian army carried out a drone strike against Ukraine's eastern Dnipropetrovsk region. According to local authorities, the attack killed 3 and wounded 10 people.
According to the regional governor, Serhiy Lysek, 8 of the wounded in Pavlograd have been transported to the local hospital. Among them is a 17-year-old boy. According to the Ukrainian Air Force, the Russian army launched 103 drones over Ukraine in the past 24 hours, with 41 Shahed UAVs shot down using conventional weapons and 40 destroyed using electronic systems.
Russia is trying not only to subjugate us, but to use our resources against the world, said Ukraine's ambassador to Poland, Vasyl Bodnar, while talking to TVP World on Thursday. The ambassador discussed Ukraine's readiness for negotiations, while accusing Russia of slowing down the negotiation process and continuing the violence against Ukrainian civilians.
Putin is a murderer. He's continued to killing civilians. He couldn't reach any progress, substantial progress on the front line, so he's trying to push Ukrainians to believe that the force could to make us more eligible for his terms of peace. But it wouldn't work. We are defending our homeland. We are resilient enough to keep their forces out of Ukraine, and we will not agree on the conditions they are trying to impose on us. But we are ready to cooperate with the American side, with the administration of President Trump, and we believe that we could reach considerable progress in the talks, and that the American side will push also Russians for the peace deal, or at least ceasefire. Russians try not only to subjugate us, but to use our resources against the world. So now it's the mission, not only for Ukrainians to defend itself, but also to defend the peace, the future of the peace. What we need a strategic partnership with the United States. We had traditionally, and we believe that it is the best solution for today's situation, and to push Russia back to the normal international law, and not to prevent further aggression, because it is the most dangerous story.
And now breaking news from Russia. One person was killed on Friday morning in a car explosion in the town of Balashika in the Moscow region. According to Russian media outlets, smashed and shot the car belonged to Yaroslav Moskalik, deputy head of the main operational directorate of the General Staff of the Russian Armed Forces. However, this report is yet to be verified. U.S. President Donald Trump's envoy Steve Witkoff arrived in Moscow on Friday, where he is expected to meet with Vladimir Putin. This is according to reports from the Russian state media. This marks Putin and Witkoff's fourth meeting in just 3 months, and comes shortly after a Russian strike on Kyiv drew public criticism from President Trump, who posted, quote, "Vladimir stop" on his social media platform Truth Social. Despite this, Trump insists that meaningful progress is being made in the peace process. However, the Wall Street Journal notes growing concern over whether he will be able to exert the same kind of pressure on Russia as he did on Ukraine, as such a move would jeopardize his broader goal aim of restoring ties with the Kremlin. The Polish parliament has convened in Gniezno, the first historic capital of the Polish state. The special session, attended by the Polish president and prime minister, pays homage to the 1000th anniversary of the coronation of the first Polish king, Bolesław the Brave. Our reporter Ovidiusz Nicieja is in Gniezno. Hello, Ovidiusz. So what's happening there at the moment? What can you tell us more about the event?
So the meeting has just begun. We have just heard the anthem of the Republic of Poland. Here we have a meeting of the Polish Parliament, of the Polish Senate, which is a tribute to the 1000th anniversary of the coronation of the first king of Poland, Bolesław the Brave. Here in Gniezno, this is the historic capital of Poland. He was coronated as the first king in Poland. He is known for his diplomatic skills, which allowed him to elevate Poland to the status of a kingdom, and became the first.
Thank you very much. That was Ovidiusz Nicieja reporting from the first historic capital of Poland, Gniezno. And now we're moving on. Poland's Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski has emphasized that U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has denied media reports that the United States is demanding that Ukraine illegally renounce Crimea.
Speaking in an interview with the Gazeta Wyborcza newspaper, Sikorski said this was an important signal. The minister added that Rubio spoke about Ukraine as a sovereign state that should have the right to develop its army and its defence industry. Sikorski also said Europe's focus on developing its military capabilities means it will be ready to effectively confront Russian aggression by the end of the decade.
Russia attempted to develop ground assault operations under the cover of airstrikes, said Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. He also added that Ukrainian investigators are examining missiles and drones to establish whether a third country supplied components to Russia or North Korea.
Almost 150 Russian attacks against our positions and more than 4,500 attacks, including from heavy weapons. In fact, the Russians tried to develop assault operations under the cover of their massive attack. While our forces were concentrating on defending against missiles and drones, the Russians intensified their ground attacks. Also, our investigators, forensic scientists and experts are inspecting the sites of missile and drone strikes, establishing and verifying the circumstances of the relevant attacks, and conducting examinations of the found missile and drone debris to establish full information about these weapons and critical components in them that were supplied to Russia or North Korea from third countries and used in production.
Yesterday, exhumations of victims of the Volhynia massacre began, said Polish Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski while speaking to the Polish Talk FM radio. According to Sikorski, Ukrainian officials began to understand Warsaw's position on the exhumations as the two countries grew closer as allies following Russia's invasion. The efforts are coordinated by the Freedom and Democracy Foundation in partnership with the Pomeranian Medical University and the Polish Institute of National Remembrance. The entirety of the operation is financed from the budget of the Polish Ministry of Culture and National Heritage. Moreover, the process also involves families of the victims who supplied DNA samples. According to available information, around 20 scientists are working at the Późniki site. Once the victims' remains are recovered, they will be moved to Poland, where a team of some 50 specialists will examine the DNA samples. Poland aims to ask the EU for an exemption from borrowing limits to keep up with its growing needs in defense spending, said Polish Finance Minister Andrzej Domański in an interview with Reuters on the sidelines of the IMF and World Bank meetings in Washington. Domański worries other countries won't follow Poland's example and the leeway into much-needed cash won't be used. Even though the EU is far from reaching its national defense spending goal set at 650 billion euros, most member states are reluctant to go into extra debt. Only Portugal has signaled it could be interested in the EU debt exemption mechanism, while Spain, France and Italy have expressed skepticism. Quote, "If those countries won't apply, the goal probably won't be reached," added Domański. And so this marks the end of our news broadcast, but please do stay tuned. We're back in just a moment with more news and features. I'll see you there.